Hello YouTube, this is Brekke from BrekkeWrites, and this is a Brekke Reads mini indie book haul. I spent Christmas in Asheville with my in-laws and I was able to visit 2 independent bookstores and it was awesome. I wasn't able to buy a ton of books, but I did get a few books and other things, and so I want to share with you my independent bookstore haul. Now the first bookstore that we visited was Malaprops in downtown Asheville. This is a standard, classic, cult following independent bookstore in Asheville. It is not huge, it's not like Powell's or anything, but it has lots of different kinds of books. It has lots of authors that come in, and it just was a really wonderful experience to wander the shelves and to see books I'd never heard of, to see books from all kinds of genres, to see really interesting curated lists. It was a super fun time. Now my husband did go and pick out a book himself, but these are the books that I bought on a trip with the whole family, and one non-bookish item which I will start with. And that is a hilarious dish towel that has a swear word, but it talks about a pizza to come down from the sky and be like, I love you, I'm here for you, I'm so sorry about the salads. I am going to be sending this to a friend of mine, and I just thought it was hilarious. I'd never seen anything like this, and it was a little bit of an impulse buy, but you know, all of it supports the bookstore. The next one is another one that's not exactly a book. Again, I only bought one real book from Malaprops, but still, all of it supports the bookstore, and that was One Line a Day. This is technically a 5-year memory journal, but I'm using it as a gratitude journal. Basically, this has 5 different years, 5 different slots where you can write down a memory, or in my case, something you're grateful for every day for 5 years. And so at the end of that, whether you do the whole 5 years or you do 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, you have a really nice, succinct, compact journal of the highlights of your life. I find it really hard to journal. I am not good about keeping up with a journal, but taking literally 1 minute to write down something I'm grateful for every day is something I can do and is sustainable. And so far I've kept up with it. Now it's only the 7th or 8th day of January when I'm filming this. I don't remember because I'm tired. I have kept it up so far and I'm really liking it, and I do hope I keep it up for 5 years and can have a nice place to remember all the things I have been grateful for over the course of my life. The final book is the only novel that I purchased from Malaprops, and that is The Thinking Woman's Guide to Real Magic by Emily Croy Barker. I almost said Baker, but Emily Croy Barker. This one was a staff pick and sounds really interesting. It's about a woman who is at her friend's wedding and is kind of miserable and isn't really sure what she's doing with her life, and she somehow ends up in an alternative world and is taken in by how awesome magic is and how much fun it is to be in a world full of magic, only to realize that maybe things are not what they seem. This is basically a portal fantasy for adults, and I'm really curious because I want to write a portal fantasy for adults this year. So to read something that is similar, although I think it would have a very different tone, this seems to have a lot of humor woven into it. This will give me an insight into kind of what the market has out there, and I think it will be a really fun read. Although this isn't on my top 10 TBR for this year, this is a book that I am hoping to get to sooner rather than later. Then my husband and I visited the quaint, adorable little downtown of Black Mountain. It's outside Asheville, and it is just the sweetest little place. I loved it so much. It's not far from the Montreat Conference Center, those of you who know the North Carolina area, and I just love visiting Black Mountain. I love walking around Montreat. It's gorgeous. It's been a couple of years since I've been to Black Mountain, and so they have opened a new bookshop called Sassafras, which is lots and lots of books. In fact, I talked with either the manager or one of the owners, and she was saying that although they are a really small independent bookstore, in square footage they are definitely smaller than Malaprops, they don't carry a ton of the big names. So they will carry the really popular books, but instead of ordering 20 copies, they may only order 3, and that gives them shelf space to carry some smaller authors, because I noticed they actually had a more broad variety of young adult authors than Malaprops did, surprisingly. There were authors there that I know were coming from smaller presses and were not nearly as big of names as other authors, and I was surprised to see them right alongside the bigger authors at an indie bookstore. So that was really encouraging. So I wanted to support them, and I picked up books from two authors that I enjoy, one of whom I personally wanted to support her work because I know that it directly impacts her life. I follow her on Twitter. Shannon Maguire's latest book in the Wayward Children series, In an Absent Dream. These are novellas about children who return home from a portal fantasy world. Some of those worlds are fantastical and seem to have no reason attached to them. Others are very much based in reason and logic. But all of these children return back, often as teenagers, and they are not adjusted to living back in our world. And some of those stories, like the first novella, takes place here in our world with a school for these children trying to readjust. The other books have been children returning to their portal worlds and the impact that has on them and the people around them as they return again. I'm not really sure what this one is about, but I know I'm going to love it because I love Shannon Maguire's writing style, and being able to pick this up at an indie bookstore and support her especially just, you know, I don't have a lot of money, but I like spending my money this way. The second book I picked up was very much an impulse buy. I was not going to buy it, and then I did. And that is We Are Okay by Nina LaCour. I have mixed feelings about Nina LaCour. I have read one other of her books, and I can't actually think of a title, but it was very underwhelming to me. It was not fantastic, aside from the fact that it was a female-female romance. It didn't have any buzz to me. But this has won the Prince Award, and that's not nothing, so I am really curious. This isn't super long. This is about grief and growing up and dealing with family dynamics and issues, which is not the kind of book I normally gravitate towards, but there's just something about this book that really pulled me in. I love the cover. I think the cover is really compelling for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but I just love the color contrast on here and the kind of bare bones style they're going for. Again, this is not a long book, and I am reading more contemporaries this year since I am writing a contemporary that is a female-female romance, although mine is a rom-com, and I don't believe this is. But I am excited to read something that's a little bit outside my comfort zone. I'm excited to read something that is not what I would normally go for. I'm excited to read something that is harder for me because reading about grief is hard. And I'm excited to give Nina LaCour another chance. She is beloved in the YA community. A lot of people really, really love her books and her writing, and so I want to see if I just maybe didn't resonate with the one book I picked up, and so I'm excited to check this one out. That's it, y'all. This is my little tiny independent bookstore mini haul. It's not a ton of books, but I was able to both support the authors that I enjoy and independent bookstores. I love me some big box bookstores. I love thrift books. I love Book Outlet. I love the big places too, but independent bookstores really do support authors and help keep publishing alive. And so in a small way, I'm glad that I am contributing to keeping them open, and now I have some really good books to add to my shelves. Comment down below and let me know if you shop at indie bookstores. Are there any good indie bookstores in your area? If not, where do you go to buy books? Do you just shop online? How do you negotiate that? I want to support indie bookstores. I want to support entrepreneurs and small businesses, but I also can't afford to buy every single book full price. So this is a dilemma I know that I face, and I'm sure this is a dilemma that you guys face. I would love to hear how you walk that line and where you buy your books. As always, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!